Welcome back to the channel. I had a completely different video planned and I threw all that out the window because I found something more interesting. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that I really like plants. A couple of videos up on this channel are about plants. And today I actually found my first ever compost pit. And it's not something that you're going to expect. Ding-ding-ding. This is my first ever compost pit. So it's just a trash can. So what's funny here is that while I found this just cleaning out this place where I'm filming right now, I actually broke this while I was cleaning. But this is my first ever compost pit. It's literally just a trash can. And I drilled some holes into it. So yeah, that's it. It's kind of surprising that I found the trash can, but I'm actually a bit excited to use it again this time that I found it. And one of the things that I learned the first time that I actually made a compost pit, because the current compost pit I have is a vermicompost pit, so it uses worms. This first compost pit that I had, because I didn't have worms at the time, it was a hot composting setup. So it was really just layering of greens and browns and greens and browns, and it would just get all of those microorganisms in there naturally, I guess. And it composted after a couple of months, I think. When I found it again, I opened it up, then I saw it was composting or almost done composting, and you can actually feel it on the outside of the trash can that it's warm. And when you open up and you put your hand like on the inside of the trash can, it's actually warm inside. So apparently that's actually one of the ways that you know that the composting is working. So we're here at the worm composting setup. Or so, of course, you're gonna see that it's not thoroughly composted yet, but I think we'll be able to see that there are some parts which are composted. Right, so I actually haven't chucked this out in a week, so I also don't know what to expect when we open this. Put them in again. So this is the undigested part. This is layers of brown and green and brown and green. And this is what the worms will be currently working on. This is kind of the finished compost. So you can see this is the finished compost that we have. Number of worms that you can see in there, and it is a bit spongy. But this is actually good. I just think that here it's on the muddy side. I still don't know how to fix that. Actually, you can see a lot of isopod colonies, and I don't know if that's necessarily bad for the worms, but I know that as long as they're helping out and the population of worms didn't decline too much, I think that it's generally something that's okay to, you know, be around. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a roll of tissue here, and I'm also just gonna sprinkle some. I actually have some worms which are here on the cover side too. Right there, see some worms. So that was my vermicompost setup, and I'm actually surprised about how long that the setup's actually been going on. So right now it's actually probably over a year, nearing 2 years already, and I actually only harvested from it a couple of times, so I think it might be a good idea to harvest from it. But I'd actually like to touch on the reason I got into vermicomposting or composting in the first place. Where I'm from, the government does a horrendous job on pollution control and waste disposal. Like how they would pass laws about garbage needs to be segregated when it's collected, but at the end of the day, they actually go towards the same landfill. So there's actually no point in the segregation in the first place because there's no difference about how they are disposed. And we know by now that there are actually a lot of places which are successfully dealing with their waste problems, like how other countries burn their waste safely and they actually use it as a means of fuel, and other places like I'm not sure if it was Hong Kong or Singapore, where they actually make an island out of all the trash that they burn, and the refuse gets turned into an island which has no pollution at all. So a lot of the places are actually having problems with disposing plastic, and understandably so, because it's kind of difficult to get rid of plastic. But for things which are biodegradable, we should already be ahead of how to get rid of things which are biodegradable, like plant waste or paper. I don't think it's worth it for these things to end up in the landfills, because it's pointless. First, because it just consumes space, and second, because it's actually really easy to get rid of it in a productive way, like composting. And it turns out there are other ways of composting which you can actually compost food waste as well. Now, I don't know for a fact what percentage of things that end up in the landfill are biodegradable to non-biodegradable, but I know for a fact that if there are mandates which call for segregation and those aren't enforced or followed, and they just collect it, throw them in the same landfill anyway, whatever percentage of biodegradable things do end up in the landfill is a waste of potential. For me, any kind of paper or whatever other thing is biodegradable which does end up in the landfill is just a waste of opportunity. And the reason for that is I can easily use that. Maybe I take it for myself, it gets composted, then I sell it as a sack of compost or soil, and we know that that is good for the environment because it has been degraded. Now it can be used as soil, and in many cases compost is actually better for the soil than soil that you just took from some mountain somewhere, which is bad for the environment too. One of the goals that I have in my lifetime is that I want to take not only my household but the entirety of Cebu to become a zero waste place. And I know that it's kind of a struggle, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to be made from all of the trash that we have. So, it's turning that trash into treasure. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm still hopeful about the situation, but I'm a bit less hopeful about how things are being implemented and people's general apathy to the concerns of nature. I don't blame people because life is hard, and when you're struggling to live your life and feed your family, I understand that concerns of the economy or the environment are probably things that you don't want to think about. And while I think that dealing with the non-biodegradable situation is a lot more important, because it's especially difficult to deal with non-biodegradable waste, I think that we need to have systems in place which just let us get rid of all of the biodegradable things first, so that we can focus our efforts on things which are more problematic, like the non-biodegradable things. I'm a bit less hopeful that the government actually takes these things seriously, and I think that the only way to make progress where we are is for the private sector to make the first step. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and again, it is my goal in my lifetime to see it through. So that's it for this episode. I hope that you're not throwing trash anywhere, and I hope you're disposing of your consumption responsibly. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.